Join us on this 7 miles kayak from Talybont-on-Usk to Brecon on the Monmouthshire and Brecon Canal on the 9th of October 2021. We launched at Talybont-on-Usk at about 12 noon and kayaked through some great countryside before a canal-side lunch stop. After passing the small village of Pencelli, we then paddled past lots of canal boats at Pencelli Marina. We kayaked over the Brunant Aqueduct, which carries the canal over the River Usk, before paddling the final stretch to Brecon Canal Basin, where we finished at about 5 p.m. So we've parked up at the bike hub in Talybont-on-Usk. The canal is more or less across the road from us. So we're on the canal side at Talybont, and my kayak is inflated and ready to go. This was a pre-kayak photo of me, Archie and Di before we set off. Di always films me getting into my kayak in the hope that I'll tip it over and fall in, and he can catch it on film. So we're finally off and leaving Talybont, so 7 miles to go to Brecon Canal Basin. Looks like Di is having a rest already. We're about half a mile from Talybont, but we're just taking our time. The scenery around the canal is awesome. If you are wondering why Archie was hiking and not kayaking, it's because he cannot swim and forgot to bring his armbands with him. Seriously though, it's because he badly hurt his neck about 6 months before in a mountain biking accident, so he did not want to risk aggravating his neck by paddling. He hiked alongside us on the towpath, but he is back paddling again with our kayak crew, fortunately, with no problems with his neck. The bridges on the canal are all numbered with these plates, with the lowest numbers on the southern end, increasing as you go north. So we've gone about a mile north of Talybont already, about 6 miles to go to Brecon. Yeah, you see a lot of cyclists on the canal towpath. It's also a great cycling and hiking route. Oh dear, looks like a lowered bridge ahead of us blocking our way. I guess we'll have to get out and go around it. Di adopted a fetal position and pressed himself as low into his kayak as he could to squeeze under the bridge. I felt compelled to follow suit.
Excellent, well done.
Come on, Carlos.
You made that look easy.
Can you do it again? Because I forgot to film.
Yeah, I go back now, so. He'll come down now as he's going underneath it.
Looks like Di is having another rest.
How far? What's that? I was just thinking that actually.
If you are planning on paddling on or hiking or cycling next to one of the canals or rivers managed by the Canal and River Trust, then it's worth checking before you go on their website, which is linked below this video, to make sure that there are no closures or other restrictions on the route in question. While such restrictions and closures are not really common, they will sometimes be necessary due to maintenance work or other issues. Such restrictions tend to mostly occur in the off-season. You do not want to get there and find out that you cannot travel the route you planned on due to it being closed. As well as the canal itself, such restrictions or closures can also be imposed on the towpaths, for instance due to maintenance work. So we're almost 2 miles from Talybont. It's still overcast, but it's dry, which is the main thing.
See more kayak, isn't it?
Just before the small village of Pencelli and about 2.5 miles along the 7 miles route, we decided to stop for lunch on the canal side. There was a pile of wooden sleepers stacked up which conveniently served as a table for our lunch. We were only less than a third of the way along the route, but it was already cider o'clock.
The ambience in this restaurant is awful, isn't it?
Here we go. Archie's about to assist Carlos. Show him how to get into a kayak. Oh, he's doing well there. He's doing well.
Oh no, my foot's stuck on the fucking thing. Sure I've forgotten something.
So that was a nice lunch stop. Those wooden sleepers were handy. I think we've got about 5 miles left to go to Brecon. We've decided to stop at the Royal Oak at Pencelli. Di normally needs help getting out of a pub rather than getting into it. That's the beer garden there. When we went round the front of the Royal Oak, we found that it was unfortunately closed on the day that we called. This is Pencelli Basin where you can launch your kayaks, but you need to leave your car down the road in the lay-by or it may block access to the slipway. There was a medieval Norman castle at Pencelli, now occupied by the Pencelli Castle caravan and camping site.
Oh no! Apparently there's another bridge coming up, so we're going to have to do some limbo style bridge navigation.
Oh no, another lowered bridge. I'm not squeezing into that one too. It looks even lower than the last one. This is the Monmouthshire and Brecon Canal's version of Battleship Row by the looks of it. Well, we carried out kayaks around that bridge. It looks like that lowered bridge is causing a bit of a kayak jam on the canal. I'm going to tuck in here behind this canal longboat, so this boat coming down the canal can pass by. This long row of canal boats moored up is on the stretch west of Pencelli village. It's great to see them. They've all got lovely names, cool names. That one was called Yasmin. This looks like a couple of more sort of pleasure boats, these white ones on the left. This orange one coming up is called Kildare. Looks like Di is getting mobbed by a family of swans. Serves as right for filming me getting into my kayak, hoping I'd fall in. I definitely regret not bringing my bag of swan and duck feed with me now. I feed the swan, ducks and moorhens on the local canal where I live in Neath almost every day. They're costing me a fortune, but they're worth it. Those swans look hungry. They're after food, I expect. Amazing birds. Great to see the cygnets, 7 of them. I bet they take some looking after. So we're about 3 miles along the route now, with about 4 miles to go to Brecon. We're in between Pencelli and Brunant Aqueduct according to the map. I guess that even we can't get lost on a canal. Well, you would hope not anyway. That sheep is about to jump into Di's kayak by the looks of it. Bridge 157 coming up. Archie was designated official photographer for the day and filmed us from the towpath when he got a chance. Our unintelligible chant is kayak crew, by the way.
Kayak crew.
Looks like another canal boat coming through, so we'd better tuck in to the side again. This canal boat called Gwennan was one of the boats on hire from Cambrian cruisers just a bit further down the canal at Pencelli Marina. After it passed us, it went weaving down the canal. I've never tried driving a canal boat. Mind you, I have enough trouble trying to stay in my kayak sometimes.
Stinging out.
You better than the first one. You almost hit us.
We're about a mile east of Pencelli, and there seems to be a marina coming up ahead of us. This was the approach to Pencelli Marina, with lots of canal boats moored up on the canal. You can hire canal boats from Cambrian cruisers at the marina. It was now about 3:15 in the afternoon, and we had about 3 miles to go to Brecon Canal Basin. The Monmouthshire and Brecon Canal certainly is popular for boating. I lost count of how many canal boats we passed on our trip. There's a big marina over there. I'm not sure they cater for kayaks though. We're probably small fry for them.
Where you hire them, is it?
That's the entrance to Pencelli Marina. You can apparently stay there too. I remember walking to the marina from Brecon years ago and then walking back. I do love these marinas along the canal, they're great. "36 miles of the Monmouthshire and Brecon Canal is navigable. We broke it up into day trips of between 6.5 miles to 8.5 mile sections. That's a nice view looking back at the marina in Pencelli with the Brecon beacons in the background. Great walking area there. Looks like a paddleboard ahead of us. I don't think I've got enough balance to paddleboard though. I'm sure I'd be in the water more than I was on my paddleboard. I think the canal is suitable for most types of kayak or canoe, but I'm not sure if I take a very long sea kayak on the canal, simply because it's not that wide in parts and you've got to tuck in sometimes to avoid the long boats. As usual, I've lagged behind taking photos, so I'd better catch up. Archie's doing well to keep up with us walking on the towpath. Or are we trying to keep up with him? I'm not quite sure, to be honest. Looks like Di's run out of steam again. I think we're catching the paddleboard up actually, although it's a bit like chasing the end of a rainbow. Seems to be getting further away as well. On my YouTube channel, I've got playlists for the different areas that I've kayaked. So there's one for the Monmouthshire and Brecon Canal, one for the River Wye, one for the Wales coast, etc. Well, we're now approaching the Brunant Aqueduct, where the canal is carried over the River Usk. It's really impressive to cross because the aqueduct is high above the river underneath, I recall. The Brunant Aqueduct is about 73 metres long and was constructed to carry the canal over the River Usk between 1797 and 1800. There was a party boat crossing the aqueduct the other way the same time as we were crossing, so it was a bit of a squeeze to get by. Some of the River Usk can be kayaked if you have a waterways licence, but only at certain times of the year and subject to conditions. There is us waiting for the boat to move off the aqueduct. After a while we realised that it was parked up on the aqueduct for the punters to take in the view, so we had to paddle around it.
I hope they're better than the previous rivers. We crashed otherwise.
Jag håller ju ner ner där över.
So we're on the aqueduct and you can see the River Usk below us. We crossed over the Brunant Aqueduct eventually and are now coming up to Brunant Lock ahead of us. Brunant Lock is about a quarter of a mile after passing over the aqueduct if you're coming back towards Brecon. Like all of the locks on the canal, you've obviously got to carry the kayaks and get out to go around them. I don't think they'll open the gates for kayakers. Looks like Dyer's found his whistle by the sounds of it. This photo shows the inside of Brunant Lock, which also carries Bridge 163. While we were out on the bank, portaging around the Brunant Lock, we walked onto the adjacent row bridge to have a look down into the River Usk, which passes underneath. This is me on the bridge by Brunant Lock, filming the River Usk below.
Part of it, like the Wye. Oh yeah.
So we're looking back at Brunant Lock from the towpath. We had to get out and portage by carrying our kayaks about 50 or 60 metres around the lock. Another advantage of inflatable kayaks is that they're quite light, so we didn't have any problems carrying them around the lock. It was now about 4:30 PM with about 1.5 miles left to go to Brecon. This short tunnel goes under the road bridge which carries the main road into Brecon, so we haven't got that far to go now, I think. If you want to canoe or kayak on the Monmouthshire and Brecon Canal, then you need to have a waterways licence in order to do so. But a mile to go to Brecon. Dye is still paddling strong. What's up? That noise is main road into Brecon, to the right of the canal. So I think we're only about 3/4 of a mile left to go now. Yeah, I was saying earlier about needing a waterways licence to paddle on the canal. A waterways licence is included with membership of Canoe Wales or the British Canoe Association. We joined Canoe Wales. It was only £45 for the year, so it's good value. Yeah, I was explaining earlier about joining Canoe Wales. or the British Canoe Association, because membership includes the waterways licence, and it gives you access to loads of different waterways, like thousands of miles of canals and rivers in all across the UK. Some more colourful canal boats as we get nearer to Brecon. This purple one on the left is called the Murray Lloyd. That's something to do with a tradition from South Wales, where they have a horse's skull mounted on a pole, carried by somebody underneath like a sackcloth. It's quite bizarre.
How's your shoulder, Di?
Were I not going round in circles?
The end is ahead. The basin at the head.
Yeehaw, we've finally made it to Brecon Canal Basin. That's the Brecon Theatre over there. So we're going to get out by those steps over there on the left. As usual, while showing some photos of the day, I give my objective views on the route we explored, together with any advice as to what we would have done differently. In summary, this was a great kayak. We only had to portage by carrying our kayaks around one lock at Brunant and also around one small bridge at Pencelli. Access to the canal at Brecon and also at Talybont-on-Usk was easy, with parking close to the canal at both locations. I think with hindsight we would have gone from Brecon to Talybont rather than going from Talybont to Brecon. Strangely, the water generally seemed to be flowing down the canal away from Brecon, north to south, which I guess makes sense since it's downhill of sorts. The flow was maybe only 1 mile per hour or so, but we did both notice it at times when we stopped paddling. We did paddle the subsequent sections of the canal, all in the same direction, going north to south. The scenery around the canal was superb, lovely countryside with the backdrop of the Brecon Beacons mountains, often also visible. The Monmouthshire and Brecon Canal is probably one of the prettiest canals you can kayak, with great countryside, with the canal snaking through little hamlets and villages. If I was going to do this route again, then I would have stopped for lunch at the Royal Oak at Pencelli rather than having sandwiches on the canal side. The Royal Oak is a great old-fashioned pub that I've called to previously, and the beer garden backs right onto the canal towpath. It was though just as well that we actually took sandwiches, since the Royal Oak was closed on the day that we paddled this section of the canal, and we do normally take sandwiches as a backup in any event. For us, 7 miles was a good distance to kayak. On a canal, you do not get the assistance of the flow of water that you get on a river, or the assistance of the tide or the wind that you can often utilise on a sea kayak. I would certainly consider using the number 43 bus to save taking 2 cars if we were going to do this route again, and if it fitted in with the proposed start time. More on that bus service a bit later. As usual, I make some suggestions for food and restaurant options on the route. Looking at Brecon firstly, Brecon is a nice town with many food and drink options, although they are mostly in the town centre rather than being on the canal. It would be more of a place to have food after you finished your kayak, hike or bike ride, rather than stopping off en route. Talybont-on-Usk is a small village nestling alongside the canal, but has a few nice pubs which also do food as shown on the map. The Star Inn has a beer garden right alongside the canal. I did go here a number of years ago, and it's a really nice pub with a great selection of real ales. The White Hart Inn in Talybont is also right on the canal with a good selection of beers. I also had food here before several years ago when cycling the canal, and recall it also being very good. The Travellers' Rest Inn is also right on the canal in Talybont. I have not called here yet, but plan to do so next time I'm up this way. You can also stay at the Travellers' Rest. As alluded to earlier, the Royal Oak was unfortunately closed when we kayaked this section of the canal. As you can see, the beer garden at the rear of the pub backs onto the canal towpath. It is normally open, and I do recall calling here a few years ago when hiking on the canal, and it was a very nice old-fashioned pub. Regarding logistics, we had 2 cars with us, so we left 1 car at either end of the kayak. We decided to start the kayak at Talybont and kayak to Brecon. We therefore left my car at the car park next to the theatre in Brecon, which is right by Brecon Canal Basin, where you can land or launch, or start your bike ride or walk for that matter. At Talybont, we parked at the car park by the bike hub, which was only about 50 metres walk to the canal. When we finished up at Brecon, we just packed the gear into the back of the car and drove back to Talybont to pick the other car up. Since we had 2 inflatable kayaks, we were able to pack them into a car, although if you had 2 hardshell kayaks, I guess you would need at least 1 car with a roof rack. In terms of public transport, this map shows the route for bus 43 and X43, with the stops on or near the canal in bold. The timetable can be downloaded from the Stagecoach South Wales website, linked below underneath this video. As usual, I suggest a few alternative options for the route we travelled. Kayaking on past Talybont to Llangynyder would add a further 3.5 miles or so the total kayak from Brecon to Llangynyder would be about 10.5 miles. This map I have compiled shows the different sections of the 36 miles of the navigable parts of the Monmouthshire and Brecon Canal that we have kayaked. We have broken it up into sections between 6.5 miles to 8.5 miles long. My videos of the other sections are either already up on my channel or will be uploaded very soon. The Monmouthshire and Brecon Canal is also a great hiking route. It is of course almost totally flat, being a canal towpath. If you were to hike the section between Brecon and Talybont, then it would basically be the same distance and take about the same time as our kayak of this section, about 7 miles. Cycling is also a great way to explore the Monmouthshire and Brecon Canal. The towpath has a good compacted surface and is flat. The good thing about cycling is that you can cover a longer distance. Check out my videos of my other kayaks along the other sections of the Monmouthshire and Brecon Canal. If you liked the video, then please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I have loads of videos of our kayaking, hiking and cycling journeys along some amazing rivers, coastlines and other waterways such as the River Wye, the Wales coast, the River Cleddau and more. I also have an ever-growing range of videos of gear reviews, tech reviews and guides. You can also check out my blog of my travels at www.rivercoast.co.uk, which is linked below. Thanks for watching.